Hello, I'm Benjamin Coy, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Rina, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us is Lucille Wenegiem. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Now, before we talk about HeadCount, please tell the viewers a little about your background and who you are.
Hi, so I'm Lucille Wenegiem. I am the Executive Director at HeadCount. I am a first-generation Nigerian American. My parents immigrated here in the 80s separately. And I have always been civically minded in the sense that my parents let me know that voting and being part of civic life was part of the contract that I had, right? To be here and to be active in what was going on, not just with voting, but with supporting my community members, my neighbors, et cetera. And that was always a really big part of what we talked about growing up. And I definitely didn't think I would get into this kind of work. Being a first generation African immigrant, there were a few jobs that were sort of okayed. So I often thought I was going to be a doctor. Very, very quickly after grad school, realized that was not the way forward for me. But I think everything that I've been a part of has just been another tool in the toolbox for what I do today.
Absolutely. So speaking of what you do today, what is the history and mission of HeadCount?
Yeah, absolutely. So at HeadCount, we turn music fans into voters. Over the past 20 years, we've engaged young people and music fans, and we get them to register to vote. And then we move them along a path of civic engagement. So that looks like volunteering, that looks like becoming poll workers, that looks like serving in other ways in their communities, but really through the lens of registering to vote and voting as one of the ways that folks can really make change, not just in their micro communities, but nationally as well.
That's awesome. Please tell us about Vote with Pride.
Absolutely. So Vote with Pride is one of the many campaigns under the HeadCount umbrella that we're really proud of. And this really came out of a discussion across our entire kind of community space. So at HeadCount, we have over 20 full-time staff. We have over 10 part-time staff. We have over 160 paid organizers, and then over 60,000 volunteers across the country. So we're quite a big network. And we are often trying to engage that network in, what they would like to be a part of, what they want to see us doing more of. And the Vote with Pride program is a manifestation of that. We heard from the folks in our community that they wanted to have a more dedicated place for queer community to assemble, but also for us to engage queer community in civic work. And that's where Vote with Pride was born. And so what that looks like for us is whenever we know that we're going to be in a queer-led or queer-supported space, we activate with our Vote with Pride programming. We also do many Pride events. Obviously, June is a big month for that, but not every place has their Pride month in June. And of course, Pride is all year round. But we are very busy in June. We will be at over 80 events, I believe, or we were in June, now that we are actively in July. And for us, it's not just about showing up in, kind of a rainbow or anything like that. We also try to kind of put our program where our mouth is. And we also partner with an organization called Vote Riders to make sure that our trans community members have what they need, whether that's ID access or a variety of other things to make sure that they can access the ballot. And also that our folks can have their voice heard through an outlet that reflects their priorities. So we're very excited about it. We've had it for many years now. We continue to expand it and take thoughts and initiatives from our broader community to make it better and more effective.
I love that. Thank you, Lucille. Particularly the part around what you're doing to ensure that our trans siblings and non-binary siblings have what they need to register to vote. I feel like sometimes they are left out of that conversation. And so thank you for making sure they're included. Now, this one I'm particularly interested in because I am an HBCU graduate myself. So please tell us about Vote HBCU.
Absolutely. This is another one that we're very proud of and that we've incubated for a while, but that we're really kind of blossoming this year. And so our Vote HBCU program is in partnership with an organization called XL Leader. And they're really great. They were formed by 3 former student government presidents at 3 different HBCUs. And so they're from these communities. They have a really rich networks at these places. And in terms of headcount, we never want to feel like we're parachuting into a place, especially not an HBCU where there's so much history, there's so much culture, and we never want to go in there and sort of assume that we can copy and paste what we do in other places and have them work or resonate. And so we really wanted to take their lead and say like, hey, what can we add to that? What can we add to what you're doing and what's already working for you? How can we augment that so that y'all can have greater reach? And we did 4 schools that we were at. I was able to go to our most recent activation last fall. It was in October at Grambling State. And it was really lovely to be able to see obviously the best parts of what HeadCount does, which is have a really great time and have all these kind of, I'd love to say sophisticated resources in terms of our digital offering, what we bring in terms of physical space, swag, et cetera, and really marry that to what Excel Leader does really well, which is the kind of community building on campus and making sure that the students feel really supported and that the staff and administration feel really bought into what we're doing as well. And so we have done this at 4 schools so far. We've gotten over 3,000 young people registered, which is really amazing. And so this year we are looking to be at 10 schools in a really activated way where we're kind of like bringing that headcount model where we're doing the on-site block parties and, just making it really big and fun and expansive. And then we have, from those 10 schools, we have 10 student fellows as well. They're going through a fellowship with us because we want to make sure that we're pouring into that community, not just for, this election year, which everybody does, sort of every 4 years, somebody goes, oh, what's going on with the Black folk? Let's parachute in, let's do a thing. And we definitely didn't want to do that. So part of what we're doing there is making sure that we're pouring into the students and their fellowship is a year-long engagement. So we're really supporting them and making sure that they have what they need, not just for the presidential election, but for their local elections too, because what we know about HBCUs is they're often the key in their communities, not just on campus, but in the wider communities as well, especially in HBCUs that are a little bit more suburban or rural in their placement. So we want to make sure that those students have what they need to be true leaders on their campuses, not just for November, but for their city elections, for their county elections, for statewide stuff as well. And then we're outside of those 10 schools and those 10 fellows that we're really pouring into, we're also expanding to an additional 30 schools, so 40 total, where we are giving students on site resources, tools, kits, et cetera, to do their own voter registration drives on campus. So that's another one where we're, kind of building those networks, trusting the students to know where them and their peers are going to be and how they want to get it done, and just giving them the tools to be able to be really impactful on their own campuses, which we're really excited about.
Wow, such amazing and important work. Are there any other programs or initiatives that you want to discuss?
Yeah, actually, there's a ton that we're doing at HeadCount. We're in a really great place this year in that we have a lot of kind of big, impactful work. Sort of day in, day out on any given year, we are at over 1,500 events. So about 2/3 of those are music related events. So it can be concerts or music festivals where we are on site turning music fans into voters. In 2024, we'll actually be at over 3,000 events. So these couple of programs that we got to talk about are just kind of a slice of the bigger pie of what we're doing all across the country. Which is really exciting. So the next time you're in a music venue, kind of wherever you live, maybe look out for a HeadCount table. It's highly likely that we'll be there. And we are really excited to kind of join with our artist partners to kind of do more interesting work this year. We also started in the music community, but we've really expanded across different kinds of culture because, as you know, young people are engaging with culture in a bunch of different kinds of ways. It's not just this singer doing one thing, because talent isn't also doing the one thing. Like you got singers who are acting, you've got actors who are, doing content creators. They're all influencers at the end of the day because everybody's trying to get their bag. So, that in that way, we're very much trying to match where the culture is and match where young people are. And so we have obviously what we're doing, the over 3,000 events in person, but we also have our digital campaigns. So we have our Good to Vote campaign, which we've done for about 4 years now. When the pandemic happened in 2020, everything shut down. There weren't any concerts, there weren't any festivals, and kind of the regular way that we were doing things wasn't available to us. But we still had artist partners, talent partners who were like, I still want to do something. How am I useful? And so we really built a digital program around that, which is our Good to Vote campaign. And we partner with top talent, and they offer a once in a lifetime prize for their fans. And the fans enter to win by checking their voter registration status. So it's a really great way to not only get folks in with that like voting hook, but there's also a really great prize at the end of it too, that gets people really engaged and enticed. And it's a great way to campaign. So whether we meet somebody at a table at a show or digitally through a campaign that we're doing, or on an HBCU campus, all of those people are put into a get out the vote flow, which we call GOTV, get out the vote. And what we know is that like people have 8 million other things to do on any given day. Even if you're somebody that's thinking about voting, or somebody who, has the issues top of mind, maybe you're supporting folks through mutual aid or any variety of things, it can still be really difficult to know, when should I be at, at my voting location? Where's my nearest voting location? Oh, wait, can I go in? Do I have early voting, or do I just have to go on election day? And so part of what we do with all of the people that interact with us every year is we remind them, here's your voting plan, here's what you can do. And we do that by state, but we also do that based off of how they came into kind of our network. If you came into our network because you were a fan of a specific artist, we'll email you sort of in the style of that, right? Like we'll have, all the little inside jokes and tips and tricks and all those things from that specific fan base that you're into, as well as the functional information that you need for where you live. That way we can remind you, hey, you have the option to request a mail ballot. You should do that if you'd like. You can vote early so you don't have to take the day off on election day. Or you checked your voter registration status, but you're still not registered. It's okay. You live in a place where you can do same day voter registration. And so we just remind folks, how do we get from voting as an abstract idea onto a thing that's actually on your to-do list and that you can actually get done. So that's another really big part of what we do, is just like getting folks across the finish line. And not just for a presidential year, we're right back at it next year and every other year, because it's not just about the presidential election. Most of what affects us in our day-to-day life is what happens kind of farther down that ballot. So we always like to remind folks that like, it's not just about president. It's not just about, kind of that big thing. It's also about, who's your county commissioner? Who's your comptroller? Who's your sheriff? And we also provide a lot of educational aspects for that too on our website. You can do headcount.org/your state. So it could be headcount.org/Virginia. And we have a whole host of information about how to vote in your state, but also what's on your ballot in your state too. So you can sort of bridge the gap if you're interested in voting, but maybe you don't know what to expect, or you don't know what's going to be on your ballot. We can help you with that too.
Yeah, love that, love that. And Team Rayceen actually is very pleased to share that HeadCount has been a partner at some of our other events throughout our last 10 years, doing the same things, registering people to vote, sharing voter education. So thank you again for all that you're doing for our community to make sure that we are able to get out and vote, because this is an important election, as all of them are, because as you said, it is not just a presidential election, but it's our local elections that actually move the needle in so many issues. As you mentioned, you are the executive director of HeadCount. What are some of your long-term goals and ambitions in your new position?
Yeah, for sure. There are a few things that are sort of top of mind to me. I think our history as an organization was really rooted in the jam band scene with our co-founders, and continuing to expand that to really include music fans of all genres all across the country. So making sure that kind of every music fan feels like they can find a home under the HeadCount umbrella is really important to me. And so expanding those relationships across the music industry is a big deal for me. Excuse me. Also thinking about how do we stay just as impactful in the years where there isn't a presidential or a midterm, and reminding folks about all the things that they can do is another thing that's really important to me, especially for young people. They're really thinking about, places where their vote in particular can matter. And with sort of bigger structural things like the Electoral College, it can feel like those things aren't as impactful. But I can always find, there's an election in America on pretty much any given Tuesday. So there are always going to be those places where I can say, yes, like this was decided by 40 votes, 10 votes, 1 vote. I grew up in Colorado, and I was an election administrator there for a little while. And I have literally seen elections get decided by a coin toss. So it really does come down to that sometimes in the United States today. So it's one of those places where when I'm thinking long term, is how do we continue to redeem that value in the local elections too. And I'm also thinking about culture more broadly. That's probably the big third thing. It's not just music, right? We're consuming music in a whole variety of different ways. We're engaging with culture in a variety of different ways. There's the universal music group battle with TikTok, because TikTok is disrupting music in that way, and Spotify is disrupting music in another way, and then of course there's artists and talent figuring out how to make a living while still making art, and knowing that those things aren't in kind of discrete lanes as they used to be. And so just thinking through how do we continue to engage with young people in a really authentic way, engage with our talent partners in an authentic way. And we adopted another organization called I Am a Voter into the HeadCount family this springtime. And part of that was, again, just to have other ways to engage with athletics, with fashion, with acting, in addition to music, because we know that people don't just focus on one thing. Folks are multifaceted, and they're engaging with culture in a variety of different ways. And so we really want to be prepared for that, and we want to be a leader in that space too as we keep going.
Wonderful. Can you please tell our viewers how they can learn more about HeadCount, get involved, and find out what's upcoming?
Yes, so you can always find us online at headcount.org. You can find your state voting information at headcount.org/whatever your state is, or whatever state you're looking for. And if you are interested in any of our current digital giveaways, you can go to headcount.org/good2vote.
Awesome. Well, viewers, look in the description box below for links. Lucille, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in this upcoming election.
Thank you. It was lovely to be here. Thanks so much for the time.
To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media and subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
Viewers, thank you for watching.